Hey guys, today I wanted to talk a bit about what's actually inside the feeder insects we feed to our pets. I'm going to go over common feeder insect that you could reliably find in pet stores or a bait shop. We are going to go over mealworms, superworms, discoid roaches, dubia roaches, crickets, waxworms, and black soldier fly larvae, and which ones I think are your best choices, and what they're best used for. The sources I use in this video will be in the description so you can look over what I read if you want more details. All of my sources show similar results with a 1 to 4% difference, but most being up or down 1%. I will also be going off of my experience when it comes to actually feeding these critters to my geckos, and my suggestions will mostly be aimed at leopard geckos. Though all of the values apply across the board for any pet, just my opinions will be based on my experience with leopard geckos. Long intro, huh guys? Well, with that out of the way, let's start the video. Quick disclaimer, these values can vary based on the size of the insect, so its contents are going to depend on that and how it's been fed, so keep that in mind. We're also not going to include calcium because you should always dust your insects before feeding your reptiles. Let's start off with the most common insect on our list, the mealworm. Mealworms work great as a staple insect that can be most of your pet's diet. They are good on a budget and can be bred at home easily. Mealworms sit around 18% protein, 12% fat, 2% fiber, and 2% ash. The high protein and low fat content are the main pros of mealworms and what makes them work so great as a staple feeder. They move around enough to get a feeding response from most insectivores. The downside to mealworms is that they are high in chitin when considering their total mass due to them being rather small even at their largest size. With bad luck, this can possibly cause impaction or digestion issues. While I have never had this happen myself, I have heard it over the years and from other keepers that it is a possibility. And last, their life cycle is rather quick, so unless you keep them in the fridge between feedings, you are most likely going to have some of them start pupating just days after getting them. Next up is the superworm. Yes, the great superworm. These guys are a great snack food for your pets. They offer a rather large meal per insect and their cost is very affordable as well. These guys can clock in at a whopping 2 inches long and normally only require a few per feeding for your pet to be satisfied. Superworms sit around 20% protein, 17% fat, 4% fiber, and less than 1% ash. The high protein and fat in this insect make it best suited as a snack rather than a staple, and should only be fed every now and again. Superworms are quite lively and easily provoke a feeding response from your animal. They have a long shelf life as superworms do not normally pupate while there are lots of other superworms around. The downside to these guys though, as already mentioned, is their high fat content. This is the killer of the insect. Overfeeding this insect can cause your gecko to become obese and not respond well to mealworms and other insects, leading to hunger strikes if provided anything else. It can be tough to break your gecko of this, so be careful. Next are dubia and discoid roaches. Roaches, in my opinion, are one of the better insects you can feed your gecko. They grow rather big. When it comes to roaches, there is always the perfect size prey item to feed your pet. Roaches provoke an excellent feeding response from your gecko. You can put them in a bowl where they can't escape but will run around, or let them on the floor of your enclosure to allow your pet a more natural experience hunting its prey. Dubia and discoid roaches have very similar values as far as nutritional content goes, though dubia roaches do have higher protein. These roaches sit around 21% protein for dubia roaches, 17% protein for discoid roaches, 9% fat for both, 4% fiber for both, and 1% ash for both. These roaches' high protein and low fat content make them excellent staples to any diet. Their downside can be cost and stigma. Discoid roaches are a little more on the expensive side if you don't have access to dubia roaches, which are fairly cheap. And since both dubia and discoid roaches are roaches, they can be seen as pests, and some reptile owners may be fearful of having a critter in their home like that. While it is extremely unlikely they can infest your home due to their longer life cycle, moisture requirements, and access to food in general, them being a roach still brings them a lot of negative stigma. But if you can get past them being roaches, they are among the best feeder insects you can use and can be a staple of your pet's diet. Now, the noisiest of our feeder insects, the cricket. Crickets are cheap and easy to get. From pet to bait stores, you can get them just about anywhere. They provoke an excellent feeding response as crickets are very lively and are ready to jump around. They can give your pet a run for their money if you want to let them hunt for their prey. Crickets sit around 19% protein, 6% fat, 2% fiber, and 2% ash. The pros to crickets are that they are high in protein, are very lively prey, are very soft, and have lots of goodies inside them compared to the amount of chitin they have. The downside to crickets are that they are completely homicidal, cannibalistic, and have a tendency to unalive themselves if they are given a water dish of any kind. They also stink quite bad, and if you have a lot of males, they can be noisy. I personally love the sound of them, so that doesn't bother me. but I could see how it may drive some people crazy. Crickets are a fantastic option for a feeder insect and can be used as a staple in your pet's diet. Next up, we have the waxworm. The waxworm is a delightful little treat you can get for your pet. These guys are very soft, kind of chonky, and wriggle around a fair bit. They are not very costly, however, as mentioned, they are best used as a treat. They do provoke a good feeding response from your pet, and after their first one, you will come to see how much they love this prey item, but not for the best reasons. Waxworms sit around 15% protein, 22% fat, 1% fiber, and 1% ash. For the same reason superworms are a snack food, waxworms are actually worse due to them being much smaller. Their main pro is that they are soft. They seem to taste good, and when given occasionally, add some enrichment to your pet's life. Their downsides are the fat. They are raised on honey, so what can we expect? And they do not last long before turning into a moth. You have to keep them in a fridge, and since you aren't supposed to give them often, if you only have one pet, you end up wasting most of the ones you bought. If you overfeed waxworms to your pet, much like with superworms, they can very much put up protest to you giving them any other type of food, and it can be difficult to break this behavior, so only give these guys as a snack for your geckos. Now we have the black soldier fly larva, or another common name, the calciworm. These guys are fairly cheap, but are quite freaky looking. They are maggots and are raised on a variety of food items, mostly food waste, so they themselves have a rather unique diet when compared to everything else in the video. Despite being grown in what we would otherwise throw away, they are quite nutritious and safe for our pets. Black soldier fly larvae sit around 17% protein, 11% fat, 8% fiber, and 6% ash. The upside to these guys is that they are high in protein, are fairly cheap to get a lot of them, and are lower in fat than junk food items. The downside is that your pet may not eat them. I had 4 leopard gecko and a crested gecko refuse to eat them. This is personal though. Their lifespan is also rather short, so they do not last long. There's no way of preserving them the way you can with other prey items in this video. I also have a personal problem with them, as they are often associated with not needing to dust your pet's food due to their high calcium to phosphorus content. Do not believe this. Do not risk this. Always dust your insects. Metabolic bone disease is very serious, and do not take what you read or hear online at face value when it comes to the health of your pet. Always err on the side of caution to give them the best life you can. Black soldier fly larvae do have a positive calcium to phosphorus ratio. However, just always be safe, guys. Alright, the last insect I was going to do was the hornworm. However, the information on this animal is so all over the place that I do not feel comfortable with saying what's in them. One source says 85% protein, one source says 30% fat, other sources have low fat, other sources have low protein. I can't really average the number out, so I'm skipping them. I have all the articles I read down in the description in the sources when trying to research this animal. Feel free to take a look at it and come to your own conclusion. Alright guys, with all that covered, the best insect, in my honest opinion, to feed to your pet, and drumroll, all of them. Yep, all of them. There is no best insect. There are most certainly bad options, but as long as you feed your pet a variety of insects, even the junk food on occasion, everything will work out. Each insect contains a variety of other things, like differing kinds of fats, vitamins, and minerals that I did not cover here because I don't understand it well enough to talk about it, and I have already had a hard time sourcing information for this video already, that I decided to leave that and calcium out. If I had to choose a diet to follow, I would recommend roaches or crickets mixed in with some mealworms and then superworms as a snack. I feel this would give your pet a good variety along with proper gut loading, link in the card above, that should provide your pet with good health for a long life. And that about wraps it up, guys. I have wanted to do this video for a long time but haven't had the courage to do it. I was worried about not getting some of these values right and not using the right sources. So I went with one in the US, one from Australia, and one from India to best avoid biases. I feel most safe with the source reptifiles, link in the description, due to their credentials. I cross-referenced each article to each other, and they all came out about the same with a few exceptions. But tell me what you think in the comments and if I missed anything or if you disagree with me in any way. If you like this video and have it in your critter-loving heart, give this video a like, a subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more videos in the future like this. And as always, from the critters and I, have a wonderful day.